Gotta record. Aloha and welcome to Pirates with Whitney and Jennifer. Politically incorrect relationship astrology that involves souls. And we're actually going to look at a chart today. So,
Yay! Gonna
hey,
look at my chart because it's a
yeah,
train wreck right now.
we're going to look at Whitney's chart. So let me get, oh, that's interesting. Hang on. Hold the phone. I got to do something before we get it up here. So give me a second. Okay. Now that should be working. There's a pretty chart.
I can't see it. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we're coming to you quite a few days after the new moon. It
Yeah.
didn't work on either side for us. We couldn't make it happen. So I think one of the reasons that was is because of what's happening in my chart right now. Or what it feels like to be going through this. So we're just going to use this as an example to explain, you know, real time
Real time
how the
shit.
how planets are beating your ass from space. That's what's happening right now.
Well, basically how planets that exist within your own matrix are beating you up.
Well, yeah, well, okay, so each planet has a frequency that it emits, right? And that frequency travels
Right.
through forever. So it's really I mean, I've seen it described this way. I cannot remember where I saw it,
Mhm.
like 4 years ago in a screenshot. I do have it in my phone someplace. Um, it's a symphony of frequencies that are washing over us. And the signs are like the tint or the flavor of what that passes through before it reaches us or as it reaches us or whatever.
So where do you want to start?
Okay, well, we're going to start with what's in pink.
Okay,
We're going
so
to
which,
start with
which
pink.
pink which pink one do you want to start with?
Okay, well, we're the pink at the top of the chart is where the sun and Venus are conjunct.
This one.
Yes, on the outside. The
Right.
inside circle is my natal chart. The
Right.
outside circle are the transits.
There we go. Right there.
Right. So a few days ago when we were having the moon was also right there with Venus and the sun.
Okay.
Okay. So at the bottom of the chart, opposite that placement, is my natal Neptune, right down there in
Right
my third
there.
house.
Right there,
Right.
peoples.
So that opposition already was making me wish I could drink tequila.
Mm.
Right. I think I had talked about it in a different episode that we did around Pisces energy and addiction.
Mhm.
Right. So, and I was saying how for some reason this time around when the sun or the moon, was it the sun, yeah, when the sun was passing through Pisces, I didn't feel the same struggle that I would normally feel, and I was attributing that to Saturn's placement traveling through Pisces,
Ah,
right, because it
right, because
adds
it's structuring.
structure, it
Right.
structures this free form energy.
Hmm.
So come around to the new moon and it's exactly opposite my natal Neptune placement, which it took me a minute to figure out. Like, I was like, wait a minute, I gotta look at my chart. Why the hell do I feel like this? And to the right of the chart, the other pink line that I placed right over Saturn in Pisces, right? Saturn is squaring my Neptune. It's squaring the sun and Venus, which is opposite my natal Neptune placement.
Okay.
let's just throw in on the other side, I made another pink line over my north node, right? So that right there is creating a big old square, two oppositions, four squares.
Boing, 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 boing.
It's like, it's mutable energy, and most of my chart is in a fixed energy. So it kind of feels like a free for all for me because of my natural need for a certain level of structure. I'm not a total stick in the mud. I can go with the flow, but like I need to have certain underpinnings that make me feel safe, secure, good, whatever.
So people,
So
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
go ahead.
No,
No, you go ahead.
just I was so irritated by everything. I've been irritated for like over a week, just like want to crawl out of my skin, shave my head, like drink a bottle of tequila, irritated.
Well,
And everything. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. No, you finish, finish.
Oh, well, so the sun and Venus are in my ninth house, right? That's
Mhm.
knowledge, philosophy, long term, long distance travel. Saturn is just now made its way into my sixth house, which is health and service. Worries me about the health part. My north node is in my 11th house. So my purpose has to do with groups of people, large groups of people. And because it's in Virgo, it's service, being in service to the community. Neptune in my third house is, I think some part, it's a part of my chart that I don't like relating to it, or I'm not sure how to relate to it, or have a bad attitude about relating to it. And I mentioned this before too. It's interesting that you're a Sagittarius. The third house is the house of friends and cousins and stuff. It's Gemini energy.
Right.
Um, but I get traditionally burned by Sagittarius people because of this Neptune placement. It's not that it can't evolve, right? And that's what I feel like your friendship represents for me, or shows for me, or demonstrates for me, right? Is that this energy can evolve into a higher octave of Neptune Piscean energy. It doesn't have to be delusional or betrayal based. It can be highly spiritual and intuitive and creative.
Right.
Um,
Right. And also the third house is the house of communication, and in business it's the house of marketing.
the third house is in business astrology. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? Okay. So this square is just it feels like I'm getting undermined because I've been trying to working on whatever, doing something consistent and stable, and getting out of a certain um survival mode, fight or flight mode in my life, because
Mhm.
that's what it's been, crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis. And most of that is beyond my control, right? And in this particular situation, living on Kauai, this crisis is it's being induced from the outside. Like there was an intentional sabotage of our economy. I'm one of the casualties of the sabotage
Mhm.
of this local economy because I don't work remotely yet, maybe, mostly.
Right, which is interesting because if you're Virgo, like so basically you're saying your North Node is in Virgo in the 11th house, right? With doesn't the 11th house have to do with something with social media?
Yes, because every time my birthday rolls around, I have somebody else look at my chart and my transits. And the chick who is the vertex,
Mhm.
what's the rest of her name? I can't remember that, but the vertex is the most important part. The vertex experience, the vertex astrology,
Astrology. I think it's just Vertex, isn't it?
vertex
Vertex.
astrology. Okay, so she was like, okay, hate to break it to you, but your entire chart is about learning through crisis. And secondly, if you would just use this part of your chart, which is the social media, because Aquarius rules social media, 11th house rules social media,
Right.
then you would be doing better. Or
Hence,
you would be, tapping. I'm trying to tap my Jupiter up here, that yellow mark in
right
the 10th
here.
house in Leo. Like that's the part of my chart that I don't really use doing manual labor for a living. But that right there means that I need to, hate to say it like this, but Leo is the center of attention. You need to be on stage and you need to be talking to people. And because of my Virgo over here, it means I need to be teaching something to people, right? I'm a
Right.
database, I'm a walking database, but I don't really do much with it except for tell people at the grocery store free shit. Like,
Yeah, but Virgo is also like about innocence and purification and like, it's like health. It's like just it's
yeah,
it's about wholeness, right? So, that's part of the reason like but also I've been telling you for like this is why we're doing this, like because I've been telling you for like a year you need to talk about
I need
astrology,
to talk about astrology.
right? Because to me astrology can be uh used for health. Like
Yeah,
it's a very good tool for health. So it's
the
why,
mug I drink my tea out of every morning.
yeah, this is why we're here talking about all this because and looking at your chart and um helping people understand like so if so people who have a lot of fixed signs right in their chart when you get into like a transit where there's a lot of mutable stuff it can feel like the rug's being pulled out temporarily out of your kind of like
It
your
feels
effort.
chaotic. Yeah, it
Yeah,
feels chaotic.
you lose your footing so it's like basically um it's almost like well I don't want to say that so basically I would say it's like when you can understand this like so how this is why it'd be good to have a session with Whitney to help you understand like how basically it's like sometimes you have to ride this out a little bit right you have to know that this is
It's a
happening.
forecast. Like, yeah, if you can
Yeah,
know something, the storm is coming, and then you know it will pass, then it helps you
right,
make a plan,
right,
right? Have a long term perspective on something instead of
right,
feeling like overwhelmed or run over or defeated or
right,
all
right.
emotional about it.
Yeah and all but also like so when I it's interesting it's just a whole interesting like square that's going on there but also the remedy isn't here.
Right. The remedy is within the problem, right? There is
Yeah.
a solution in there
Mhm.
if you unpack it a little bit.
Right. The opportunity is in the crisis.
Uh-huh. Okay. So the next part that I want to bring up is the yellow marks.
Uh, so which
So we
one
already,
is
we already mentioned that my Jupiter is up
right.
there at 3 degrees in Leo,
Hmm.
which today, right now, the moon is transiting it. Like, hopefully, I get some little silver lining with that. Because a month ago, I got a little blessing with it. So today, I would like one,
Yeah.
um, or tomorrow, whatever. So at the bottom of the chart, opposite my Jupiter, is the Pluto transit in Aquarius. So Pluto is basically stepping on my face as far as like that goes, stepping right on Jupiter, being like, whatever kind of abundance is here isn't happening, is squashing it. It's totally just like, it's like that.
Or like, so one of the other things I would say is like, if Pluto's about power, where's the power?
Pluto opposing my Jupiter is disempowering my abundance. It's slowing it all down. This is supposed to expand, and Jupiter is not letting it grow. I mean, at the same time, it could prevent something from exploding, maybe.
Right, but I'm saying there has to be some power in it. There has to be a your own power that you can find through it. If Pluto is there, even though it's kind of doing, the what you're, the kind of kiboshing, it still has power in it. So it's where's the power in this?
Oh, I just realized this isn't the final example that I sent you. That's okay. We'll get to that.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I only got one. Oh,
That's okay. Um, so the third mark is up here in my seventh house, where Mars just entered Taurus, just like today at some whatever hour. Okay. Um,
that's
it's
what
my
I'm
Mars, it's my Mars return because I have Mars right there in the second
right.
degree of, well, I have Venus in the first degree and I have Mars in the second degree of Taurus. So there's a lot of motivation in that Mars return kind of thing. Also with my Venus there, but it's creating this square. It's a T square, right? The opposition of Pluto and Mars is perfectly exactly squared. I'm sorry, Pluto and Jupiter, right, is the opposition being squared by Mars. So that's another fixed energy, unharmonious, at odds, beefy type of
Well, I
transit.
could see why, like the itchy and the wanting to shave your head. Like that's what I was going to ask you. Like, where's your? I was wondering, like, where's the Mars? Like,
Oh no, I'm gonna attribute the wanting to shave my head part to the Uranus, which is the green that I'm getting to,
okay,
saving the best for last, right? So, um, Pluto is square my Mars Venus conjunction. The seventh house is the house of relationships. Fourth house is the house of home type things, right?
and
Um,
karma, isn't the house of karma too?
well, I would say the water houses are all karmic,
Okay,
different. And my relationship is on the rocks all the way. So Pluto is just like running the fuck over it, like, you know, smashing the sailboat into the cliff, into a million pieces. I saw something that somebody was talking about with this Gemini
new moon,
square,
right?
right? The square of Saturn and the Sun and Venus, and the Mercury is fast approaching right there, and it'll be there in a few days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, listen to whatever the repeated message is. There's a message that keeps being stated, but we like to, tune things out that we don't want to hear, that are
Right.
unpleasant. So the message is,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody's not treating you properly, then they're not treating you properly, and they're not going to figure it out. Like, you have to remove yourself from the situation. That's a really painful realization, especially when you're invested and you have time and you have feelings, that your feelings don't just go away. So,
Right. That's your message, but not necessarily. That's
right.
not
Well,
everybody's
that's me
repeated
because of
message.
my relationship house. Like, I'm talking about
Right.
my
All
seventh,
that.
right?
All that.
Yeah. Plus Venus is up there. So it
Right.
does have to do with love and value in general.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And then the green marks is on the outside, it's Uranus, right? On the inside, it's my sun. That's about four, no, that's like 3 degrees, two or 3 degrees of separation. So Uranus is making its approach to my sun. At the same time, it's still opposed my natal Uranus on the other end. That has been going on slow kind, long time for the last couple years, right? That
That's it.
Uranus opposition.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've never really like invested a lot of like thinking about Uranus and Scorpio till this exact moment. I'm going, oh, the downloads ensue.
Ooh, yeah.
Well,
Um,
because that's your natal chart, right? And then the second house
yeah.
is the way it's been described to me is like the first house, the house of the body, it's your image, and the second house is like what you bring to the world. Like what are you holding in your hands? What
Mm.
like so it's like your resources, so some level you can look at it as your gifts to the world, right? What did you bring to the potluck of life? So like think about Uranus and Scorpio. Like that's like lightning fast change and transformation.
It's revolutionary.
It's revolutionary. Yeah.
Always revolutionizing whether or
Revolution.
not I have a place to live.
Right, revolutioning. And the other thing I was like, that's really that I'm thinking about with like but oh that's Aquarius. You're all right. Scratch that.
It's square my moon.
Yeah,
Yeah. So here's the other thing. I had put a green mark on the moon when I sent you the last chart
that's fine. Here's the
because of the, yeah,
your moon or the transit moon.
no, my moon over here in
Right here,
Aquarius,
right here.
6 degrees. Because the Uranus transiting my sun opposed my natal is squaring my moon because that's my inbred T square. So it's very upsetting for my feelings. People with a sun moon square, like, that's difficult in general. I think it's especially difficult when you have your moon in Aquarius because the moon in Aquarius is kind of problematic because you don't really feel things, you intellectualize things, and people can go their whole life disembodying themselves from their feelings.
Hmm.
Now, I think I've gotten over that because I cry about everything and anything at any point in time, no matter where I am. I don't care. I can't hold it back. It just comes out, right? Um, but I also have a serious poker face.
Right.
So Uranus transiting my sun is what I attribute to wanting to shave my head.
Okay.
I like just like I don't like my hair touching my shoulders and touching my neck is making me just like want to like climb a wall.
Right.
So
So it's Taurus is the
is the neck. Right. So all of this going on, like the Uranus transit is not happening fast. It's not going to get over with anytime soon because I really it's it's got to pass out of Taurus. It's got to pass into Gemini, second and third degree of Gemini to get out of a 5 degree orb of my sun.
Mhm.
It's not happening anytime soon. So it'll still be squaring my moon. And everything in my life has been totally destabilized, right? Everything. Now I think I have to relocate to the mainland because relocating on Kauai isn't happening
Mhm.
for multiple reasons. And it's interesting how much of my relocation has to do with money, right? Resources and money security. Because just talking with you the other day about, because I had read the article in KHON News about the ninth island, how many people have actually been relocating and exiting
Right.
Kauai since 2017, right? 2017, 2018 was already a big movement off of Kauai because of economic reasons. But then the lockdown in 2020 really just put the final nail in the coffin for a whole cross section of our community.
So that
It
right. The other interesting thing to tell you is that um the island of Kauai is under the and Chinese astrology is was when it was incorporated, like was is under the year of the snake, and so is Las Vegas.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So that it has a similar
It has a
and
parallel.
right, right. But the state of Hawaii itself is the year of the pig, and the pig and the snake are enemies.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's an interesting like little tidbit, and that's all about incorporation. It's not really the energy signature. That's more of a matrix type thing, right? It's about
right, right. The
what,
incorporation, right? Like
right,
not quite as a as
mm,
an island, but as a corporation, because that's
right,
what corporations.
right. But like, so basically, if you are a pig and living on Kauai, I would say you want to stay away from the popo, the literal pigs. People might call them as their derogatory term, or you don't want to have too many dealings with the government itself,
Right.
with the corporate. It's not a government, with the corporation of Kauai.
Well, the rest of my point was
Yeah.
that there's been a permanent um, amendment to the demographics that live here.
Yeah.
There's the middle part has been eliminated. The middle part of our community is the people that I would work for.
Hmm.
So Uranus in Taurus is money.
Hmm.
My natal Uranus in Scorpio in the second house is still money,
It's
right?
the money. That's right. Money, money.
Resources, right? Physical things.
Hmm.
So this is a massive uh, upheaval of that kind of resources as it applies to me in particular, but also anybody else who has Libra rising and has Uranus in their second house right now. So
Which a lot of people do.
there's a whole bunch of people. Yeah. I mean, because yeah, you're talking about years of people because it could be depending on your degree of Libra rising. If it's all the way back here at like 3 degrees of Libra rising, that could be the entire sign 30 degrees of Scorpio, which can't think of how many years it is right now that pertains to. That's but the upheaval of the economy and money and resources is forcing me to find a new place to live because I don't play on the billionaires ball field. And that's who's making money here now. People who work remotely, who's not dependent physically on this economy, and then people who work for upper echelon developers and
Hmm.
shit. But also like medical people can't even find a place to live here. They import nurses, but they don't have any place to live.
Right.
Right. So like there's a small crisis happening out here. And I just had to really put that in perspective when I was talking to you about it. Like that's why I'm struggling to make a living because of the displacement of a certain part of our community that's gone, that won't ever come back. I
Right.
mean, unless it's a total absolute down and out obliteration of the system and something else pops up in this place. Like,
Well, I know that one of the plans is they're going to start putting up, those smart high rises. They're going to start putting the plan is to put them up in Lihue. And
yeah,
also, I think they're going to expand like elder housing because they don't have a lot. And I think they're going to start building that. But I also know like that infrastructure is also going to be
10-minute cities.
right. So I could see it like so when where I moved from in New Jersey, or like one of the towns I lived in New Jersey, there was like a big chunk. It was an old school, like they didn't use it anymore. And so they sold that off. And you know what they did? They built like not a huge high rise, but enough of a high rise with condos, and what's underneath, all stores.
Right.
Those people don't have to go anywhere. So, and they're on the train line, like it's in walking distance of the train. So they're building all these things. They did it in the town over where there's, you know, everything they would need right on the bottom floor. So they never have to leave. So basically, like this is kind of like a little bit of a, not a, just to like, I don't know that they'll need to lock people down, that I think they're going to do it themselves. I
Voluntarily.
voluntarily.
Yeah.
I think that that's what it's gonna be. People, and then what they'll do while everyone's thinking this is gonna be a violent thing, they could literally just use frequency to keep people from wanting to travel and leave and do anything. And people will just acquiesce and stay in those places, and
PLF.
there won't be there will be no fighting, there'll be no war, there'll be no revolution at all. Because these people will just easily fall into that.
ELF.
Yeah.
Better get your EMF protected beanie.
Right.
Wearing it.
But that's, really that's then the interesting thing I'm going to say right now, because I'm wearing her, Herkimer diamond, right? Crystals can amplify. They're not always protective. They can amplify those things. They can make them more potent too.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think that all your crystals are going to protect you, because that might not be the case. Just looking at her crystals.
Well, no, I was just thinking. I have a plate. I have a selenite plate, right? It's like this
Yeah.
big. I have a big piece of. Is it Shugnite? Shungite.
Shungite.
Shugnite.
Shungite.
Shungite.
Uh-huh.
Okay, a big piece of that on top of that, and then I have a big fist-sized piece of black tourmaline that sits on top of that, and it's right next to my head when I sleep. And I used to live in Kalaheo, right under the Spectrum Tower,
Right. Mm-hmm.
that whole hillside. And I noticed a difference in my sleeping and in my dreams when I employed that. And I actually used to sleep with it on both sides of my head because
Mm-hmm.
of that.
Yeah.
But I was also having like this thing haunting me in my sleep. And I
Yeah.
was also doing it to keep that away. And it did keep that away,
Right.
but I wasn't able to, I needed help to remove that entity completely, which
So
I don't
this is
have
a
it that.
little piece of black tourmaline. You see it has mica on it.
Yeah.
So mica on tourmaline protects your reputation.
Ah,
That's according to Chinese medicine. That's not a channeled piece of information. That
okay.
has to
Okay.
do with the mineralogical signatures of the combination.
I also have selenite and black tourmaline above every window and every door.
Yeah, well, but like I said, they can be amplifiers of the effery, or they could be, they could be helpers. And
Right.
sometimes it just depends on the placement, the ley lines running underneath, or the way water is crossing underneath your structure. So if that's not, those energy lines aren't corrected, then what the crystals will do, amplify the effery.
Crystals is pretty general. I don't really.
Right. It's just kind of, I'm just saying this because people
Right.
think that everything is, oh, crystals are great, And
No.
yeah, the only reason I haven't, some of them, there's some of them that I continue to work with, but I'm not codependent on crystals.
Right. No, but I do use the black tourmaline to shut down the energy field.
Right. Yeah. Um, so I'm looking at it like when you're talking about, when people are talking about revolution and Uranus, but then talking about what's happening, and like all your theme of what's happening is people having to relocate, because there are a lot of people that are needing to relocate. There's a lot of relocation change, I would say,
Mm.
that we've seen since 2020, like abrupt, right? And who knows what we kind of know what's in store, and we're on this island, right? Then there's not a lot of options. And so I don't know what they're going to do for places like, so you think about it, like if you're in Kapaa, then you have to go to Lahui, right? You have to go if you need Costco stuff, right? So I don't know how they would make it like a really a 15 or 10-minute city, which there's if from where I live, because there's only a little country store.
Mhm. They can't do it with everything, but they can
No.
do it with the majority of the population, and
Right.
especially it's about it's about minimum wage workers.
Yeah.
It's about corralling minimum wage workers.
Well,
That's
or I also think that tech people, like people who are they'll corral all those people together. Anyone who's just a cog in the wheel. Anyone who's a will, who's in willful ignorance and just wants to be a cog in the wheel, that's what they're going to do. They're going to corral themselves.
right.
They don't have to. They don't need to unleash the UN soldiers against us. That's the way it's going to be. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But
I used to I actually thought when I first came here that this is where I wanted to be for the showdown.
right,
I already knew that 18 years ago,
right.
20 years ago. I already knew that,
Hmm.
but I don't really feel like that anymore.
Well, yeah,
Like
there's, yeah.
faced with what I'm faced with right now and having feeling how I feel here and looking at the way that it would the things that are happening here, the squeeze that's actually happening here on this island, like I don't want to be here anymore for that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily the best place or the safest place. And somebody said that to me the other day, and I was like, well, I used to think that, and I don't feel like that anymore.
Well, because the other side of it is that here's what I'll say. And I think I've may have mentioned this before. I've mentioned it to you like in a conversation, but I don't think I've mentioned it live. All these like supposedly high vibe places, right? These kind of portals, right, that people talk about, like Kauai is one of them, right? It's supposed to be a major energy center of the earth. And what that means is that people who are doing things that people would consider dark, but I just don't think dark is all evil, right? So that's why I won't say that. But what I'm saying, people who are seeking to manipulate and harm use these portals for their gain. So what's happened is because everything is arranging itself so that you can start to see more of that. Like, so the people who can see more of that. And what I'm saying is that this island is being used for that more than people know. And that it makes this denser kind of these denser frequencies and pushing off the people that actually have the blood connection to the land makes it
Mm,
easier for them to do these rituals. It makes them easier to use this portal as a portal to harm, to open up kind of like the
yeah,
magnetize this land to these um hostile energetic forces like that are here that they're being used to harm humanity. So people think
that's
they're
my
gonna,
general. Go ahead.
yeah, so people think they're going to come here and they're going to have, like all these beautiful things are going to happen. But the truth is, if you're really on the soul path and you come here, it's not going to be beautiful. You're going to be doing your work and you're going to see all the dark things, all the things, the harm, I just call the harm for humanity things. You're going to see it. If you're not on the path of soul work, you're going to be in la la land and you're going to be used for those rituals. And that's it. So the more they can get people to pump up this spiritual catnipping crap, the more they just fuel it and use it. So living here, for me personally, is like seeing the balance between all of it, and to see it very clearly, and to see that the people that are don't realize they're being used for this, but think they're doing all this wonderful spiritual stuff.
That's the North Shore.
It's everywhere. It's
Yeah,
everywhere.
but it's the proportion of hipsters and hippies on the North Shore greatly exceeds that on the South side or the West side. And the mentality is definitely there. And there's this greediness about having a space there and being cutthroat and being there at any cost and having a place to live and having your social media. I live in Kilauea and I go here and like all of the stuff, right? But and they think that they're doing, yes, but no, they're not doing what they think that they're doing. That's the other thing about this, about I don't know why I feel like, because I've actually made the attempt at leaving here a number of times in the last 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Your locational astrology changes. I mean, it's different
Right.
wherever you go, right? So the astrology that applies to me here was necessary to form me as I am now. I
Mm-hmm.
had to come here to do the work that I've done. I wouldn't have been able to do it anywhere else. But now it's time to go somewhere else and enjoy different locational astrology,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and and I guess the willingness to go speaks to the completing of the transformation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I have a North Node line that runs here, plus I have a Uranus line and a Mercury line, and my Neptune line runs all way out on the far side of the Big Island, which I don't really like it over there because of that reason. Um, I have a Pluto energy that runs through here, but the North Node part is like I've come into something by being here.
Well, yeah, and like I feel like it's like gathering, and now you're taking those resources and you're going, you're yeah, to the mainland with them. Like they're gonna be,
Well,
yeah,
right. I'm going to go be on my Sun line
right.
and my Moon line, which is a
Yeah.
whole different ball game and is way more successful. It's way the potential for the way that you received and revered and all of those things is completely different than being near Uranus line.
Mm-hmm.
So so that is a huge, yeah, that's, I wonder how many people come here to be on their Neptune line and stay delusional.
That's funny.
Well, delusion doesn't work for me. I went to the Big Island, I went to Hilo, and I was like, I've never lost my phone so many times in my life. I don't lose anything. That is the defining memory of the Big Island. I lost my phone 3 times in 6 months. No, I
Well,
couldn't keep anything. Like I couldn't hold on to anything.
you couldn't keep your shit straight and couldn't do it.
No, no.
Well, that's very interesting.
I took a job on a piece of property for a dude that turned out to be crazy, totally crazy and abusive.
Mm.
And the minute my truck arrived, I had him pay me and I left. And I went and got my first waitressing job in Kona. Lived out of the back of my truck for 6 months, waiting tables in Kona to get me and my truck off that island.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, here's the other side of a Neptune line. Well, I was in Kona, living out of my truck on a, everything is rock over there. And so they had built these pads that people could build houses on. But I was living on one where a guy was waiting for his permits. He'd been waiting for permits for like 3 years. So he had me living there so that when he wasn't on the property, it wasn't vacant because people had vandalized his stuff and set fire to shit and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. One day I'm leaving to go to work at a restaurant. So I'm leaving at like 4:30 and I pull out of the rock driveway and there is a white owl standing in the road. And the thing was like 2.5 feet tall. And then when I told somebody about it, they said, we don't have any owls like that here.
Yeah, they do.
And I was like, what do you mean? I saw one. But um a visitation like
Yeah.
that is like that's also a Neptunian kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a big deal because I don't have those types of experiences very, very often.
Right. They have spirit owls that are like that. That's what I,
Right. Well,
yeah, yeah, there you go.
yeah, permanently affected me.
Yeah.
But it's the messenger. The owl is the messenger. So did I get the message? I don't know if I got the message, but I feel like I've completed whatever I had to come here to do.
Good.
If
And
I
that,
had tried to leave 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, 4 years ago, was it like I was trying to go to Maui 6.5 years ago, 7 years ago? If I had gone any one of those points, I don't think I would have had the level of completion that I feel like I have now. I didn't
Mhm.
feel like I had the completion then.
Yeah.
But when you're done with something, it's ready to go when you get itchy. So that's kind of, I think, how I feel.
Right. Well, also your Mars is on your Mars. So it's like, come on, move, move, move.
Move, move, and then the Uranus, and then yeah,
I'm looking at Mars as the kick in the crotch.
in the pants, not in the crotch.
I say the crotch because it's the root chakra.
Okay, and the kick in the pants is it?
Yeah, well, sure, same thing. But I just like to be a little bit more. I wanted to give it a little bit more oomph, and crotch is a more umphy word than pants. Pants.
Pants.
All right, should we take this down, or do you feel?
Go ahead, you can take it down. Well, and here's the other thing. I'm sharing, like most people are like super private about their chart, and I can't show you that, or you're going to give me the evil eye, or you're going whatever. Well, that's just not how I roll. So we got to be transparent. So here's me. Here's what I'm dealing with. Like,
Oh, yeah, but I feel it in my body when people look at my chart.
right.
So
Well,
I
I'm
feel
not
it.
as ethereal as you are.
Yeah, I feel it. I'm like, no, 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 get out, get out. I have to. So for me, it has to be that way.
Mhm.
I can't have everybody looking at it and
I'm
thinking
just
about.
talking about all the people out there who are watching this or
Yeah.
considering like having a session with me or
Well,
seeing it.
but also like you can help them with you can help by looking at all those factors like the transits and like the locate if they're thinking about moving, like the location, like if they feel itchy, if they feel like there's something going on, but they have no idea what it is, having a session with you is important, right? And then I started creating, um, so I have two so far, and the next one's going to be Neptune, but I have the Mars and Jupiter. I have the Jupiter grow your spiritual essence and Mars grow your warrior essence. They're they're you can instant access them, and there's a workbook, and then there's an audio companion, a meditation to help you to grow those essences within you, because I think for me personally, what I'm saying is that the Matrix gamers are siphoning warrior essence, because you need warrior essence to face yourself.
Mm.
You need warrior essence to be brave enough to face the fear, to face the things that you've covered over. And I feel like that's part of one of the big siphoning is to go after that, so people they don't even have the cojones to like deal with their own stuff. And there's a lot of shadow warrior stuff that goes on too, like also getting them sucked into, it's like getting people sucked into a fight, like getting them sucked into a cause, like that's not an actual cause, like, so you can see it in all the divisiveness. Whose side are you on? Well, that's just trying to drain your warrior essence. That's it. You got to stop the drain. stop the training.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have like the personal stuff, like any kind of personal things. I think that one of the other things that I'm looking at, because I have a cross section of like nervous system regulation stuff, and we re-traumatize ourselves as we're trying to understand the trauma. So we
Hmm.
have to understand that because we keep playing the memory over, trying to fix the memory, trying to find the solution in there, and we end up re-traumatizing ourselves, and we end up becoming our own abuser. So we end up basically like taking the sword and stabbing ourselves instead of being able to really kind of recapitulate or be able to like heal or see the trauma for what it is and not get locked into all of it. So that's the other layer of things that I'm looking at, and why I think the grow your warrior essence is so important.
Knowing your Mars placement is pretty crucial to that. Because
Well,
if you have a debilitated Mars placement, that would help you find alternative ways.
I'm looking at Mars as like people don't know how to focus their energy.
Mhm.
So it's like basically the warrior essence is what helps you to focus your energy, focus your mind, focus on, it's like that ability to focus and have the correct drive, not be driven by the matrix game, but have the soul drive. And so, and the matrix game has different layers, right? We have the familial stuff, we have the systemic stuff, that all, those are layers that have to be looked at. And but that's like one-on-one session stuff. But definitely I would say, like, if you need help, like looking at your chart, like understanding your chart, seeing like, then you have to have a session with Whitney, it's like she only charges $100. So what are you waiting for? Just reach out to her, just message her. Activate your warrior essence. Take the first step. That's the first step.
Right? Take the first step.
Yeah, like do something. That's how you activate your warrior essence. So if you're feeling it, and it doesn't mean she can only help people that are fixed, because my chart is way more mutable.
Oh no, we're not talking about your.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. What I'm saying, I'm just kind of giving people, like, you just use your chart as an example, but you don't only help people who have a lot of,
No, I
yeah,
help people who feel like they're drawn to me, and you're usually going to be a certain type of person.
right.
Um, and the reason I decided to put my chart out there and use it is because the transits right now are lighting it up like a ping pong machine. Ping
Right. I'm
pong,
just,
the
yeah. And
ping
I'm
pong.
just looking to see if anyone's like asked any questions,
Oh, okay, because
but
we didn't even.
no, nothing. We got nothing right now. But if you do have questions, then just ask them underneath. And if you,
Yeah,
yeah,
but if I have to pull your chart, that's a session.
that's a session. That's right.
Right.
Yeah,
So
there you go. So we'll be on again next week. We just don't know what time yet or day. We'll let you know.
okay, we're
But
not waiting for the full moon. We're doing it. We're doing it next week.
nope, we're gonna do it next week.
Okay.
So if someone wants their chart looked at, like then and have like you have to have a specific question.
Didn't we have a volunteer?
Yeah, we have I'll message her.
Okay.
But anyone else, I want to collect some volunteers. Anyone else who wants to volunteer, reach out to me or
Cool.
let us know in the comments below.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Do we feel complete? We feel good?
I feel complete.
Okay. All right. All right, everybody out there. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you
Thanks
soon.
for watching the train wreck.
Come on now. It's
I gotta make fun of the of my